afternoon, everybody. I wanted to give you guys a little update on our garden and our plants and what we got going on over here and what we hope to accomplish, what I'm behind on accomplishing, which would be that giant stack of soil. Look at the babies. Look. Zinnias, maybe? Zinnias, and baby hollyhocks are the dwarfs. Got lots and lots of plants. Queen lime, zinnias, more dwarf hollyhocks, queen lime mix, queen lime orange, and then these all sprouted. They're a little bit of a mix, but they sprouted really quickly, and I didn't catch it in time, so they got kind of leggy. But these got leggy too, but they corrected themselves, so I just brought them out earlier I guess yesterday was their first day out. But it's so windy that the tomato plants are drooping, and they had water in them, and even this is pretty dry, and it all had water in it. I didn't realize how quickly the wind would dry out the flowers. So far, no catnip has sprouted. And the Orange King. What do we have here? Basil. I've redone some basil. I have lots of basil, plenty of basil, but I redone some basil because the African Nunna basil didn't really do that great. It sprouted pretty good, but the problem was that it sprouted so far behind the others that it's not getting enough sun, so it's just staying really tiny and puny because of all of the plants that we have. It's hard to separate all the cups out in the morning and like pull everybody out so they get equal amount of sun. But this is the week that we will be planting, I believe Thursday. But this is the droopiest pile, and that's so sad. They're so droopy. I'm gonna get them. But what I was noticing was that the little cherry tomatoes, they are so tiny compared to the regular tomatoes. I thought we were doing something wrong, so I got online and I was looking, and cherry tomatoes, apparently this variety, the Barry's Crazy Cherry from Wild Boar Farms, it's just a smaller tomato plant. So we're not doing anything wrong. We're probably actually doing just fine. It's just a smaller plant. So all of the tomatoes are doing really good. I mean, they're starting to droop. These are too starting to droop, but I mean, I'm gonna bring them some water. I will be taking them in for the next few nights. I think Thursday night is the first night that I could put them in the ground, but I'm probably gonna let the ground go ahead and warm up one more night and let the soil get nice and toasty before I put these out. We've worked too hard to put them out now. Look how good the basil's doing. I've been told that pinching your basil will encourage it to be bushier, so I think we're gonna experiment with that, and we may pinch some of the taller basil and then compare it to the basil that we didn't pinch, so that we'll know if pinching is necessary or beneficial. I know a lot of people pinch their tomatoes and a lot of people pinch their peppers. I don't. I didn't see a big enough benefit. I do keep the bottom leaves and the runners pulled off of them, but I don't pinch the tops because I've never noticed a big enough benefit to do that, and I don't like to cut the tops off of something that's growing really good. But we got some baby's breath. Isn't that wild? I didn't know what baby's breath looks like. We'd never grown it before, so we bought baby's breath seeds, and now we're growing baby's breath. And then Coleus Pinto, isn't that pretty? And then shishito peppers. That's gonna be good. Those don't have any heat, and they're supposed to be, well, they might have a tiny bit of heat, but they're very, very mild. Those are supposed to be really, really good. And then look at all these. Look at this. Petunias. We've never grown petunias from seed. we haven't done a lot of this stuff before. And petunias and hollyhocks, I've grown hollyhocks before. They're actually really easy to grow. I actually must have had a petunia seed still on my finger when I planted the hollyhocks, because that's a petunia and a hollyhock. I don't know what I'm going to do with all the plants yet. I haven't decided. I won't really probably decide until I'm in the middle of planting them. I'll probably pull all of my plants out that I'm planning on keeping, and then putting the pots in all the right spots. And then at that point, I'll just start planting whatever we don't put in the ground, which we're going to put in these raised beds, not necessarily the ground, but whatever we don't put in the raised beds, we're going to take to the market on Saturday. It's there at the Wappapello exit. We posted a flyer, or shared a flyer, and a flyer has been shared around. But we're going to go. It would be the first time that we're going to be a vendor. Like I said, I don't 100% know for sure what all we'll have until the time comes. But I will have plenty of tomatoes. I know that. I'll have plenty of peppers. I think there's enough basils. We'll probably be taking basil. I know I won't be needing this much basil, even if I use it mostly as a companion plant. I don't think I need this much basil. I have basil. I think I have some basil back there, and then I have a whole tray of basils here. I've got purple basil, cinnamon basil. Let's see, these I got lemon balm, mandarina lemon balm. See, in the African basil, Nunum, it's just so tiny, and I think it would have grown better if it would have sprouted quicker and got like a little bit taller, so it wouldn't have had so much competition. But man, that lemon balm smells so good. I mean, you barely even have to touch it and it just releases all of it. And then the pepper plants are doing really good. Got some that's got 2 in it, some of it's got 1 in it. Oh, those tomatoes are beautiful. They are a little droopy, but between the wind and the sunshine today, I kind of expected it. They'll perk back up. We'll give them some water. A little bit of stress isn't, like this kind of stress isn't bad on them. And look, what kind of peppers were these? Oh, these are bell peppers. Got lots of bell peppers. Some of them are the Zulus, which are black or purple, whatever you want to call it. And then the Ozark Giants. And then I've got more pepper seeds. I'm thinking it's getting kind of late, but I'll probably go ahead and plant them, and then I can get a fall crop. Once the summer peppers, you know, that we planted in this winter, we got them started. Once they start stop putting out as well, if I start some now, I think I will be able to keep harvesting peppers when the new plants start producing and the old plants tire out. I got to move all that soil that's stacked over there and get it spread out in these beds. But we had a couple of volunteer plants from last year, and I'm pretty sure they're sunflowers, because the only thing we had in this bed was sunflowers and strawberries, and we had like a bush, but these are definitely not weeds. Cruz wants me to dig them up. She wouldn't have noticed them. I honestly probably would have buried them, because sunflower sprouts so easy. I don't know that they're really worth the trouble of digging them up and trying to find them a home, because they're obviously not pure, because I had like 3 or 4 different varieties of sunflowers in these beds, and they cross-pollinated, so I don't know what I'm gonna get. It's gonna be hard to transplant them and know if they're gonna be a problem, if they're gonna shade out a neighbor, or if their neighbors are gonna shade them out, and it's so hard to guess. These little ducks. We got the rock on this side of the bed, which I was really, really thankful for. Yeah, the onions are doing fine. We've never really messed with planting onions like this. We've planted onions, but not the bulb kind. We've just planted, I guess they're like just the green onions where you eat the tops. And Crizzy, she wanted to plant some regular onions and garlic. And we've got We got spinach. It's popping up. We'll eat the spinach a little bit, you know, because we'll make salads. And looks like the wasabi. It's teeny tiny, but you can see it. It's the wasabi, arugula wasabi. So we'll eat all of this or a little bit of it, but we don't eat near what we can grow and what we do grow, but we love to grow. Carrots have not sprouted yet, but I have been told that carrots are hard to sprout. I've never had a problem with it before, but it's also never really been this dry because of, I guess, the wind. But the radishes are going good. We got early radish and white hailstone radish, and then wasabi radish. And then we've got that weird little volunteer that came out of a bag of compost, because this bed's brand new to us, and all this soil and compost was brought in from bagged stuff that we purchased. So we don't know what that is. Of course, we've got mint. That's peppermint, I believe. I have three different kinds of mints that are in these pots. I've never been brave enough to plant mint directly in my soil, because I've always been told that mint's a bit hard to control once it gets established, and so I've always just planted it in a container. If I knew for sure that I wouldn't regret planting it and just like giving it a whole bed, like a spearmint and chocolate mint and peppermint and all of the mints, because I love all of them. If I knew that they would stay where I wanted them, I wouldn't mind having a whole bed of mint. See what this is? Just some more spinach, giant noble. Cruzy will feed the majority of this spinach out. She'll feed it to her ducks and chickens. They'll appreciate it. Orange King. Her Orange King is growing. I always want to pronounce it as it sounds or as it looks. It looks like it's calendula, but I know that's not the right pronunciation. Let's see. And this is a salad blend. What else she's got? Chinese cabbage. So she's got a little line of Chinese cabbage and some more purple bok choy. It's doing pretty good. Her little rose. I still haven't planted my green stalks, but Cruzy, she planted hers. Her bok. Look how good hers is doing. She's reseeded it now that it's outside, so she's got lots of, and I mean lots. And she's been harvesting her cabbage leaves every day, just a few here and there, and feeding them to her ducks and chickens. And I'm not sure what kind of mint plant that is, but it smells good. It's very strong. She's got a couple of them. Her lavender iced. Those are such tiny plants. Still have one in there. St. John's Wort. She's pretty stingy with her seeds. She didn't plant very many. I kind of expected her to have a whole bunch of her seeds planted, but she's pretty stingy with them. She sure didn't want to share them with me. Well, anyway, so when we're going to try out this market on Saturday there at the Wappapello exit, and we're going to bring whatever we don't plant. So we'll have tomatoes and peppers and probably some basils and a few other things. We'll also have chicks, Easter eggers, black copper marrons, any extra ducklings. I know we're going to have some silver apple yards. They're hatching. They were locally sourced eggs. They weren't from us. We don't have any. And then we may have a few call ducks. When I open up the incubator, I'll know more. We may have a few turkeys. They're also locally sourced eggs. I'll have to look back and see what the breeds are. They were not pure. They're not pure pins. So there was like 2 different colors of turkeys that they're from. And we won't have any Chinese geese or any pilgrim geese that I'm aware of, because I'm pretty sure the Chinese geese won't hatch until next week. And we'll have a bunch of runners hatching next week. So if you guys don't find any ducks or geese at the sale this weekend, hit us up, because we should have some hatching around Tuesday or Wednesday. So we just didn't get them in the incubator in time, but we're gonna have Chinese geese next week, and we're gonna keep hatching and selling the pilgrims. We're getting we're not down to the bottom of our pilgrims list yet. We still have other orders to fill, but we're getting pretty close. Once we get those filled, then we'll start just listing them as they hatch, or continue to take more pre-orders. It's just whatever people want. Cruzy and we went to Robert's Produce last weekend. It's south of Fisk. Such a nice place. We love the prices, but we got some their bagged plants, and we got some their hanging bags, or their hanging things. I said I wasn't gonna buy any petunias because I can't keep them alive because they're such water hogs, but I was really excited to see that they have these really nice grass plants. So it's gonna trail down, and it's kind of succulent-y, and they did a really, really nice job. It's got like 3 or 4 different plants in there. We got 2 of these, and we got 4. I think we end up with 4 bags. And these, there's my little helper. Actually, I'm her little helper, but she is in charge of the duck duties, and I'm on garden duties. Oh, those are pretty. We also picked up some different colored zinnias that I didn't plant over at Robert. They have everything, and they have really, really great prices. I've always loved shopping local, and as soon as I hear that they've opened and it's warm enough that I can buy their plants and then leave them outside, I do, because I don't have a lot of room in the barn. We built this big building, and I thought that would be plenty of space. I was wrong. I think I need one that's twice the size between my habits and Cruzy's habits. Some bee balm, I think. I wanted to check on the petunias. Not the petunias, the peonies. Got my little pollinators hard at work. Those are going to be pretty. We put the chickens in chicken prison. My California jasmine. They'll put off really pretty blooms. So we had to put the chickens in chicken prison because they were scratching everything. And it was a pain, honestly. I tried for years to garden around them, and I was putting down real fine poultry netting over my mulch to keep them out of my garden, keep them from being able to scratch, and it helped. However, it wasn't like a cure-all, because what would happen is they would scratch, and they would scratch and scratch, and if they couldn't get it broke loose, I think they called their buddies, and then 6 of their buddies would come over, and then 6 of them would scratch in the same spot. Eventually they were able to tear the netting enough, or they would find the spot that was really close to the base of a flower that wasn't protected from the netting. But I think if we didn't have as many chickens as we do, that it would have worked, but she just has so many that the poor landscape just could not handle them. And so I put them in the chicken prison, and I think I might have waited a little too late, but with all the other chores and tasks, they pretty much stripped these little bushes. There wasn't much of them left when they started and they sprouted. And I have hollyhocks, these right here. The hollyhocks, they self-seeded from last year, and they were really big. They are not really big now. They mowed them to the ground. I was really mad about that. And you can see that the leaves are just, I mean, they just do a number on them, and you would think that they would eat like plants. I figured, you know, they would just scratch around, but they just devastate the garden. And the hostas, I'm hoping that they can recover, so we'll see. I came out and tried to fill in all the holes that the chickens had done. We've been working on, I mean, I'm still finding damage from them. It's been a few years. I can't remember the year that I started working on this pine bed garden. That's what I call it. And every year, you know, I'd plant something, but pines are really hard to garden under, which, you know, most people realize that pines are real water hogs, and they deplete the soil pretty quickly, so it's a lot of work, but it's worth it. Once I find something that does really good, like that Carolina jasmine does really good, and you know, the peonies, they do really good, and those Japanese maples, they seem to do well down here as well. Of course, the irises do good, and there's a few others. The hollyhocks do great. So, and it's that part, it's mostly dry shade, so it's not like it's wet shade, because it gets good enough shade from the trees, but the trees suck the moisture out of the garden pretty good. So I have to find things that live up to dry shade, and the hollyhocks was one of them. Then I've got a little bit of lamb's ear left. This whole corner was covered in lamb's ear, and over the last few years, between the chickens scratching, this is the only lamb's ear that's left. I'm hoping that it'll respread and cover that corner again. There was a large area of that salvia. That's all that's left. All that was holes. I mean, it was just one big hole. So I filled in the holes, and I fertilized and watered really good. So hopefully that fills back in. And I don't really know what this stuff is. I know it flowers, and it's like got that striped base. I don't know if it's some sort of like bee balm or some kind of wild pollinator, but I planted it. I like it, and I know some people don't like it in their garden because it can be a thug, but for this particular area, it's a very large area, it's very dry, so the conditions keep this under control, and it will fill in, and then it blooms really pretty. I found a pumpkin, and there's still seeds in it. I'm wondering if Crazy's gonna want to plant them. We tossed this pumpkin out here in the garden to let the mice and the chickens like nom on it, but of course they prefer eating my plants. So I was gonna give you guys a little tour of the garden and show you all the updates. It doesn't look anything like it did last year. It's a completely different place. Even the little quack house, I pushed it out of the garden. I'm wanting to save it, but it has seen better days. I don't know that I'm going to be able to save it. It was the first duck house we ever had. My friend Katrina built it for us, and we loved it. We adored it, but I don't think it's gonna make it another year. So I pushed it out, and I was planning on moving it somewhere along the water and letting the ducks and stuff use it. There's a little pool that goes with it, but I don't think it's gonna make it. But yeah, this view is totally different than what our view was last year. It's crazy how something can change so quickly. But it was all pretty white and picket fences and little white buildings and lanterns and white flower beds, and like the entire landscape is a different color. We went from white beds to black beds, and we had 4 little short flower beds or vegetable beds, and then I had a few in-ground rows and behind the old building, and then now we have 27-foot-long beds and cattle panels and gravel to help keep out the weeds. This will make my job a whole lot easier. There are several different places where I ran out of weed barrier, and this is one of them. So I'll be working to keep this crabgrass out of my bed. Because it'll creep right up under the beds. And then there's a couple spots here that the crabgrass is sprouted through the gravel, so I'll have to pull that up and bury it maybe a little thicker. But this side, I didn't run out of any weed barrier, so I won't have any issues here or here. I had plenty of weed barrier. I must have started on the wrong side. I'm about to till this area up. Well, I guess tilling is the wrong word. I'm gonna fork. I got my fork out and I got my gardening bag. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take this fork and I'm just going to pop the soil loose about 6 to 8 inches and just turn it over. Just make it loose and turn it over, and then I'm gonna open bags of soil and compost that I've got and lay it right directly on top. And I'm gonna do down both sides. I'm gonna leave a little area in the center to walk down, I think. Haven't decided, but I think I'm gonna leave a little, maybe a 1-foot walkway down the middle. Me and Cruzy are pretty small, and then plant rows of arzinnias, hollyhocks, and sunflowers down the center of this spot. So I got a lot of forking to do, and I'm hoping that the soil is still wet enough. And it looks pretty wet. This has been mulched, this whole area. Why are you squawking? Oh goodness. Oh, I see. She's making the geese mad. Making them mad. So this whole area is nice and fertile because all the years of the ducks and the mulch. And then over here, I'm gonna mulch. Do the same thing. I'm gonna mulch all of it, and then I'm going to lay bags of soil down. I'll open the soil, I'll move the mulch and lay soil down so that what I plant in the soil won't have to compete with weeds because it'll have this barrier. So I'll do a row probably on the insides, and then leave, because I've got her green stalks. But I don't know, I feel like I don't want to waste the space. I knew I was going to mulch all of it. I didn't want rock in there because a lot of times I'll plant once the trellis takes over with the flowers. We have I think it's a cardinal creeping flower or cardinal vine flower, something like that. We plant it every year. I'll have to look at the name, but it covers that whole trellis. So anything that likes shade, I can plant under it, and I can grow like late lettuce or early lettuce or whatever you want to call it. I can put a little lettuce in there or some other things that enjoy the shade. And that's what I normally do, and that's why I wanted her green stalks under there as well, because once that vine takes over, then we can keep planting, sun sensitive things in her little green stalks. I might even put some petunias in there and see how the petunias do with the shade. I think they're sun loving I don't know for sure, but I think they're sun loving, but they do not, I don't know, they're water hogs. I can never keep water to them enough unless I just like run a drip line down them, because that's the only way. All right, y'all. Well, I'm gonna fork until I get tired and then get Cruzy wrapped up, because they're taking map tests this week. So I gotta get her wrapped up and get her all tucked into bed. But if you're not busy, come see us on Saturday and chat with Cruz. She'll love it. And if you haven't gotten your tomato plants, and if you have gotten your tomato plants and you've got room for a few more pepper plants, we have really neat varieties. They taste great, and they're really good in our area. They're really good varieties for our area. They're good heat resistant and humidity resistant. So check them out. We'll have all the information that we need so you can pick the right ones. We'll have all that with us, and we'll chat about them, get you guys set up just right. I don't know how far along everybody's tomatoes are. I haven't seen anybody's tomatoes. I'm thinking ours are just scooting right along at a good pace. Except for these guys, they're so thirsty. They're probably wishing I'd just shut up and water them. But I'm not going to water them until I get them moved inside, because I don't like carrying trays loaded with water, because I end up wearing it. The worst part is in the mornings when oh my gosh, look at that, you guys. It's already got a bloom on it. I'm assuming I should probably pick that off, but if I don't plant that one myself, I'll let the person who buys it. That's a Cherokee classic beefsteak. So that's a classic beefsteak. We have the Abe Lincoln and the classic beefsteak. That's our most, or I guess our only two common tomato plants. And they're already blooming. I don't know if that's a good sign. I think it's a good sign. I'm going to take it as a good sign. But yeah, come see us on Saturday. We don't know anything about being a vendor, really. But we do know our tomato plants and our pepper plants. And Cruzy knows her ducks and chickens. So we'll at least be able to talk about that, even if I don't have a very fancy booth set up. Look at these pretty flower boxes. Look at them. Those need flowers. They need to be decorated. Yep. Hard at work, getting her chores done. But yeah, come see us. Come talk to us. Even if you don't buy anything, just come out. Yeah, that's good. Cruzy's been cleaning. You got them all cleaned up? Yeah. You gotta get their water. I can start in my actions. It takes a long time to clean up their mess, doesn't it? Maybe some baby geese. Some baby geese. Baby Polish. Huh? Yes, I showed him your garden. I showed him all the gardens. Some baby Seramas. Some Polish. We are planning on bringing some of the extra Polish boys. She's got some cuckoo Polish boys. We ended up with 4 times the boys that we got the girls, so that's everybody's luck. The babies.
I gave them lettuce.
You gave them some lettuce.
I gave Serrano some, I gave them some, and then I gave them some babies.
All right. It's getting loud.
She's trying to get back to her nest, I bet.
Oh my goodness. Okay, y'all. We'll see you soon. Happy hatching. Get dirty.
Happy hatching.